Hey everyone, it's Connie, and I wanted to just really quickly go through with you and prepare with you for the master's class. So let's go over a couple of things. First, as you know, we have I don't want to say a hiccup, but we're really doing a hybrid class now. So there was some concern, of course, about the coronavirus, about travel and whether or not travel should happen. So we were back and forth on it, and then when the hotel called and said we would really like people to get their reservations, get their bookings in, and with the discounts. So we called it and said, okay, what, let's do this virtually. So we do still have some people that are still coming to Gettysburg that still want to participate in it live. So we do still have a couple folks coming here, and we still have some other things happening with the program. So I'm going to go through that all on this video. I'm really going to keep it short, but I just wanted to go through some things with you in preparation for the master's class, because the goal of the master's class is to really help you and take a deep dive into media and branding, and really creating that award-winning keynote. And that is really the full purpose of the master's class. And again, the master's class is to take you one step further to the showcase. So when you get to the showcase, you just knock it out of the park with that keynote. And that is the whole intention of the showcase. So I'll break it down for you a little bit as we go through here. But again, that's the overview really quickly of what I'm going to do on this video and what I'm going to show you. So let me start by just doing a screen share, and I am going to go over really quickly just to bring up the schedule. So the schedule, which you did get a copy of, we begin on Monday morning, and we are still going to be having the rooms at the Gettysburg Hotel. So we're still going to be in the conference rooms there. And so we still have some programs that we're going to be doing there. And we will be jumping right into doing more of the keynotes, answering more questions. It'll probably be more of a modified version of it, because we're doing more of this pre-work, and also because we're doing more of the virtual program as well. And another friend of mine who does breaking down of the keynotes, and he does a lot about the parts and breaking that down. He may join us as well. He's going to be in a conference this week, but again, because of the coronavirus, there's a good chance that his conference may be canceled, postponed, or turned into a virtual conference. So he may be able to join us too. But that morning, we're going to be talking about video branding, defining your brand, protecting your brand, advancing your brand, because it's all about that. It's all about your branding, and that it takes it into the media. And protecting your brand is something that's very critical. And I know I've talked with a lot of you about protecting your brand when it comes to the trademark and your intellectual property. And now that we have an in-house counsel working with us, Lynn Banta, and she's going to be talking more about that as well. So that morning, on Monday morning, I'm going to share some of those details with you, and she may join us later that week. But for that morning, I'm going to share some information with you on that as well, and some of the horror stories that I've gone through with some trademark issues that I had, where I was actually the one infringing on another group. It was actually a church group in Toledo, Ohio, that was using, it was actually theirs. They were a quilting group, and it was a name that they had used, I guess, since 1972, but they weren't out on the social web. Nobody ever knew about it until it was brought to our attention after we were using it after a couple of years. But unfortunately, they were using it a lot longer, and they had proof of use of it, so we had to stop using it. So it was, it was a gut wrench. So again, as much as you look and look and look and look and search and investigate, there's always something out there that pops up that really could surprise you. So anyway, that's a long conversation, and because it's happened to me, that's why it's so dear to me, and that's why I always share information about that. Advancing a brand, and again, it's all about the media. And again, with Kevin E. West, and because this is his thing. This is what he does. I mean, he's been in front of the camera for over 30 years, so he's going to be sharing with us the on-camera presence. So there's going to be two parts to what Kevin is going to be sharing. It's going to be breaking down that fourth wall, and he's going to be using and sharing a lot of that language, as you will, from Hollywood, from LA, from being in front of the camera. And so a lot of those definitions and a lot of that language he will be sharing, I will be sharing as well. I will be completing our booklet, our handouts, and then you will be getting those emailed to you by this Friday. So you have the weekend to prepare for the master's class, and in there we will have some of those definitions for you. But he's going to be sharing that, breaking down the fourth wall. And I'm sure you're thinking, what does that mean? But he will be breaking that down for you. And again, that on-camera presence. So it's, how do you talk directly to the camera like I'm doing now and be very comfortable with that? Or how do you talk to someone when you're having an interview, when you have all of these cameras around you? And it's different versus standing on stage and giving a keynote to an audience of 5,000 people standing right there in front of you and talking to them like they're your best friend. And those are all of the different pieces that we're going to be talking about when we break that down. And that's all part of breaking that down. So that is Monday. And so we'll wrap up there on Monday. Tentatively, we were going to go until about, 6, 8 o'clock at night. We're just going to kind of play it out right now. I'm thinking it might be 10 to 4. Again, we're going to be able to condense that a bit more because we are virtual. And then on Tuesday, same thing. We'll plan a 10 to 4. And Tuesday, we're going to be jumping into critiquing your keynote. So although some will be here live, some will be virtual, we still want you to present your keynote, okay? You are still presenting your keynote, and we are going to get that captured to video. And I am so sorry, I forgot, when going back to Monday. After Kevin, we will take a little break there, but when we do come back, we are going to be interviewing you on video, and I will be doing the interview with you. So we will be capturing some video moments there as well. And we do have a full production team that are coming in, but when we're doing the virtual, of course, we will be doing it via Zoom. So that will happen. So you will get some video takeaway. But then coming into Tuesday, be prepared with your keynote, because we want to get it captured to camera. Find a space in your office, in your home, wherever where you're not going to be interrupted, and try to set it where you're standing, because it is best to speak when you're standing. Even when I'm hosting my podcast, I really try to stand, or if I'm not standing, I have a high bench where I'm just leaning on it, because when you stand, your vocal box, your vocal cords open, and you're able to project much better. So we want you standing when you're giving your keynote. And then while you're giving that keynote, again, it is going to be recorded. It will be recorded by Zoom. It will be recorded by the gentleman who is doing our production. So we are going to be recording you, and we're also going to be critiquing you. Now, we're asking you to record a 40-minute keynote, as was given to you in the instructions, but everyone has 1 hour. So we're going to allow you to give that keynote all the way through without disruption. And then at the end, that's when we're going to come back and do some critiques. Okay, so I hope that's fair enough that we give everyone that hour, because we do have to be, you know, be, for everybody's time. We want to make sure that we're giving everyone ample time to be able to really give their message, but also ample time to give a critique. And their critique is from me, and it also is from everybody else in the room, because we're all really good at giving our feedback, but also at the same time, and there will be instructions giving the day of. The critique is giving it with heart, as we are talent concierge, but we're also giving critique that it's not it's criticism from the heart, but it's criticism where we want to help you to get better. And that's what it is all about here, to help each and every person to get better, because we want you to have that winning keynote. And then that is Wednesday. And then again, the goal is 10 to 4. If we have to go over, that is okay. We will ask everyone, we'll keep an eye on time, and we will ask everyone, that is there, if you are okay, with that time allotment. We will take breaks throughout the day as if we were sitting in a room all together. But we will keep an eye on our time for that as well. And then Tuesday night, everybody has a free night. And then Wednesday, we will continue to do our behind the scenes tour at a local TV Fox studio, which is in Baltimore, Maryland, which is about an hour's drive from here, from Gettysburg. It's probably our closest big city. We're about an hour's drive to Baltimore. We're about an hour and 15 to Washington, D.C. And we're about an hour 15 to Philadelphia. We're about an hour to Harrisburg. So we're pretty much centrally located. But our greatest media market here is Baltimore. And that's generally where we tend to head off when we do some things here. So we are heading to Baltimore. It is a Fox network, Fox affiliate. And we will be having a behind the scenes tour with those that are going to be here live with us. So those that are virtual, unfortunately, sorry, so you won't be able to see the tour, but I will, as much as I can, as much as I am allowed by the network, I will be doing some video, okay, recording. So, once I get inside the studio, they will cut me off, just to give you a heads up on that. They will cut me off. But I will do, as much recording as I can to share that experience with you, because it just is. And especially if you not had the opportunity to be there and experience that, it is really, it's fun. And it's just a really good experience to be there. And Kevin is going to be interviewed by that network while we are there. So we get an opportunity to experience Kevin being interviewed. And during that interview, he is, so during that interview, he is talking about, and he is sharing information on his latest book, which is Politics. And that is something, that we do. And here through the network with your books and different things that you do. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things happening. So that is basically the schedule. So let's jump into a few of the assignments that we had given you for next week in preparation for your keynote. So again, you could have selected one of these, or a keynote that you're already working on, a scenario for another company that you already have. Now, again, the reason why I gave you these scenarios, when we talk about creating a keynote for a conference, yes, you have a foundational keynote. You create your signature message. Kevin, I'll just keep picking on Kevin. Kevin is, he's the known for communication, the communication entrepreneur. Okay, Angela Angela's kaleidoscope, reading that space, between the lines. Everybody that we talk to, everybody that we represent on our label, there's a special niche, there's that special something that you talk to, that you go to. But and that's what you want. And because we always talk about pick a lane, this is the lane that you're in. And thinking about in LA, if you're driving on the 605, you have all of these mega lanes, and if you're always jumping from lane to lane to lane to lane, you'd be dead. Okay. But you want to pick a lane, and when you stay in that lane, okay, not that we're saying play it safe, but this is where people know who you are. Okay, that's why we say pick a lane. And once people get to know who you are, that you're in that space, okay, and that's how they know how to find you. So they may not always remember your name. I always use my friend Karen as an example. She's the GPS girl because she's the voice of Siri. So when she became a speaker, she uses the GPS girl, and her line is always, "You have reached your destination." So when people look for the GPS girl, they may not remember Karen Jacobson. They may not remember anything else she says, but they remember that she's the GPS girl. So if they Google GPS girl, she pops up. So that's what you want for you. Okay. You want people, the other for Angela, she's known as the secret weapon. All right. So when people type in secret weapon, Angela wants to pop up first. Even for Kevin, he's the communication entrepreneur. He wants to pop up first. He's also the Hollywood redneck. Pop up first. You want to be using those SEO words. You want to get that out there so people know who you are. So when you're writing your keynote, and when I talk about anchor words, so again, Karen's anchor is, you have reached your destination. I always want to talk, she's from Australia, so I always want to say it like her. You have reached your destination. I always want to say it like her, but I don't do it as well as she does. But so that's your anchor. So then when you're speaking and you're giving that keynote, so people are waiting for that. So by the time she gets done speaking, 45 minutes later, all she has to do is point her hand to the audience, and they're coming back to her and saying, you have reached your destination. That's when you know you have command of your audience. And that is such a great place to be. That is just a super place that you want to be in when you're creating your keynote. So I just gave a couple different scenarios here, because the other question that comes up is that people write their keynote and think, this is my box. I can't go out of my box. I wrote this keynote. Connie said I have to stay in this lane. I can't go anywhere. This is what I wrote about. I'm the GPS girl. This is my, you have reached your destination. But as you could see, this 3 different scenarios. Also, I guess I said scenario 2, 2, and 2. Every one of you could fit in one of these boxes. It's how you shift your message. Now, granted, one is an HR conference, one is a corporate conference, one is an association, health and fitness conference. Now, if you looked at it, Mark Worcester, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to probably go for the health and fitness conference. Corporate conference, probably Kevin, because he's talking about communication, or Angela might go for corporate. HR conference, that could be Gina Yarish. That could be Angela too. That could be Kevin. That also could be Mark. That also could be Jarek. So you start looking at this at the different crossovers. And if we would have put this out and we would have said to all of our speakers, which one would you fit into? Chances are everybody would say everyone. And then our pushback is, well, no, you can't have everyone. You want to pick one that is pertinent to you. Okay. But then there's always that, but however, there's that always, however, I sound like an attorney when I say that. The however is, yes, you can still fit into a specific one. You could always say, yeah, but I could fit into anything if I adjust my message. In this competitive world of speaking, you can tweak your message, yes. However, we don't want you to. We really don't want you to. I mean, there's numbers out every day, every day. I mean, we just got, again, another research out about speaking. The average professional speaker is making an average income of 106,000 a year. That's the average speaker. The senior level motivational speaker is earning, and I'm sorry guys, I'm not saying this to depress you. Sometimes it's like, oh my god, that is so depressing. The senior level is making $220,000 per year. And I talk to you about this all the time. The rest of the money comes when you're selling your books, your DVDs, your online courses, your coaches, your consulting, your webinars. All of that counts for the additional 90% of your income that takes you up to $500,000 and $1 million speaker. That's what all the money comes from. Even Tony Robbins, he makes his money from everything that he sells in the back of the room. So when you are doing and creating a keynote, you want to stay as close to your core message as possible. So every one of you can apply to all three of these conferences, staying true to your core message. So I just wanted to bring that up because it comes up, time and time and time again. And that's a part of the one topic that we will be covering during the master's class, which is the business of speaking. And again, that's what we're all about here, is the business of speaking and keeping the relevance of speaking. So you're not a one-hit wonder, that you are around forever. It's an evergreen business. You are building a business, and you're not here just for this week. And that's the purpose of doing it. So that is my little soapbox about that. So let me jump to writing the effective keynote. I'm going to stop screen and come back because I want to make sure that you are seeing that. Okay, so writing an effective keynote. So writing an effective keynote. So this is a tool that I learned, and I was first taught from Craig Valentine years and years ago when I took one of his courses when I was part of the National Speakers Association. And we had brought him in to do part of our Speakers Academy. And so this was something that I had learned, and then I don't want to know if I perfected it to what I thought worked for me, worked for a lot of the programming that we had done. But the couple of things that I thought were always really relevant to this is, and it was really interesting because when I used to give my keynote, initially when I first started speaking, I had my corporate speech, and I talked about leadership because, again, I came out of corporate. I was the CEO for Girl Scouts and Penns Woods Council, and it was about leadership. But I never brought in the fact that I ran a nonprofit organization, or even that I was a CEO of a nonprofit organization. My struggle with it was that who would listen to a leader of a CEO of a nonprofit organization? Who would listen to a leader of a nonprofit organization? That was my mindset. And it wasn't until somebody heard my hang up and said, oh, you're crazy. What are you talking about? You were the leader of the #1 organization in the world for women, and you have a hang up of telling people that you were the CEO for this organization, especially when you're talking about leadership or trying to talk about leadership. And she introduced me to a conference that I was going to be speaking at. And I had a standing ovation before I even came out to speak because of how she introduced me. And that changed everything. But then I was still hung up on that story and my personal story. And many of you know that I found out, well, it's probably 8 years now, that I was adopted, and that I didn't really know who my true father was, and there was stuff that happened. So I had that story. So my struggle was, how do I use that story and then my corporate story, and then how do I integrate the two? So I was almost like I had two different lanes I was in. So I had my corporate lane, and then I had my personal lane. And then in my personal lane, I was speaking at foster groups and adoption groups and abusive groups for women. And then I had my corporate lane. And then I finally hired someone that we were able to bring the message together. And then I was speaking about leadership. And then when I took Craig's program, he talked about speaking and captivating your audience. But what I still didn't learn up until that point, I mean, it took several iterations for me to finally learn, until somebody said to me, when you get up in that stage, you're not up there to use that space as your therapy session. You're up there to use your message as your vehicle to change somebody else's life. So that was a huge aha moment for me. And I actually had another coach, he helps people write their speeches for TED Talks, call me this week to have a conversation with someone, because he's heard me say that, because she was stuck on, I've been sick, this is my message. And it was I continuously in her keynote and preparing for her TED Talk, and she couldn't get past that it wasn't about that it had to be about your audience. So keep that in mind when you're writing your keynote. Again, use your story as your vehicle, but it has to change your audience. So the most important parts of your speech does have to be opening, your closing, your delivery, and your content, or as Craig Valentine would say, your OCDC. So the delivery changes, but this outline represents a 40-minute speech. So then if you go through each one, set it up, you want to open with the bang, you want to close with the bang. So I don't want to go through each one here with you. I'm just going to go through one section with you. So create this, use this as your worksheet, set it up for a 40-minute keynote. And there's a strategy to why you're creating segments of 7-minute keynotes. Now, let me just back up a minute. So my friend, the other gentleman, who I said may join us, he talks about, and again, learning. He went to the same school of practice that I did, of having your points in your keynote as well, which is points, anchor, reflection, technique, and the sale. So the points is, what are your feelings? Now remember, this is where you're using your story as the tool. And then how does that point relate to your audience? So now this is where you're flipping it. Your tool, now how does that tool relate to your audience? Okay. And so my tool, I was a leadership, I was the CEO for Girl Scouts. And then at one point I did talk about, being in that leadership role, knowing I was going to lose my position. I had a year to take this organization, develop best practices, and still be a leader of an organization, knowing that I was going to lose my position. So I use those points relating to my audience in terms of, no matter where you are in your position, There's always something out there greater than you, and that you're there for a purpose, for a reason. And again, in my job in Girl Scouts, our purpose and reason was to take care of the girls and be there and deliver for them. So that's how I turned it and related it to the audience. The lesson that you want your audience to take away, that's the technique. So maybe that's a step one, a step two, a step three part there. The steps of how to do it. And again, it's not you selling something to them, but again, this is an addition to that step one, two, and three that I just talked about, those techniques. So now, you shared with them the why they need to do it. Now you're sharing with them how they need to do it. And then the foundational phrase, you have reached your destination. What's your foundational phrase? Okay. For some people, a foundational phrase could be an acronym. Like Dylan uses CURE, CURE. So here he could say CURE is means this. The second 7-minute segment could be U means this. R is this, E is this. You could spell out an acronym. That's another way for creating your foundational phrase. So you want to think about it that way. And then you segue to your next point. So going back to why you create 7-minute keynotes. TED Talks started as a 7-minute keynote. TEDx is 20 minutes. You can get to a keynote, you can get to a conference, which is 40 minutes, maybe it's an hour, and they might say, we're running behind schedule. We need to cut your keynote down. You only have 14 minutes. And you're like, I got it, no problem. So now you only do part one and part two, and you wrap it up. You got it. You don't have to worry about it. Or you get to a conference, and this has happened. It happened to me. And they say, we lost a speaker, or somebody's running late. We need you to extend your message. In my case, I had to extend my message for 2.5 hours. And I was like doing a dance on the table to trying to extend that one. So, and then now you're pulling information out. So that's one reason that you do the 7-minute segments. So you could easily break it up. Another reason, the reasons for this are many. Another reason is, and you probably already know the answer to this, is that people you need to move them. You need to move them. They have a very short attention span. Okay. At one point it was 7. Now it's down to 2. So even through the A, B, C, D's, and E's, you're moving them. You're moving them. You're getting them to move. You're getting them to shift. You're getting them to think differently. That's why 7 minutes, because you need them to shift. You need them to think big, because when you get down to 7 minutes, they're starting to wander. What's for lunch? Where are we going? What are we doing for happy hour? Think if you're the last speaker of the day and it's between you and happy hour. Okay, what are they thinking about? Where are they going for happy hour? You don't want to be that person. Or you're before lunch, or if you're after lunch, not the best position to be in either, because what happens after lunch? They want to take a nap. So you got to keep them moving. So you always have to remember what position you are in speaking at a conference. Okay, and that's a whole nother conversation. And you're going to find that the elite top speakers will ask for the first or the last position of speaking. And there's a reason why. And so ask me that, and I'll tell you that another time. So then you segue to the next part. So you get into section 2, same thing. And then you have a 50-yard stretch. So the 50-yard stretch, maybe you're doing a giveaway. Maybe you're doing an activity. Maybe you just something that you have going on here. Remember, we're not selling from the stage with the giveaway. you know, and we've talked about different giveaways. I know with many of you in our one-on-ones, and we'll keep talking about it. But this is where, again, you're getting them to move, you're getting them to stretch. If you're a speaker that likes interaction, this is the time to get off stage, to get down there and interact with them. All right, because they're all like looking for you. Now you're getting them moving off your seat. Speakers that do that and do that well, that's why they're doing it, because they want people to follow them in the crowd, and because people are looking, well, where are they? I can't see them. That's why they're doing it. They want you to follow them because they're getting moving them around. So then when they get into the next segment, they're making their way back up onto the stage. Okay. Okay. Now we're at section 3. Same thing. Okay. You go through the same exact format. All your points, you get to 4. So now how many minutes do you use? All right. 7 times 4 plus 7. Okay. So you're getting close to your 40 minutes. You got 5 minutes left. And this is where we say you don't sell from stage, but this is where you close, and then you do a pre-close, and then we're going to practice this, and then you do a pre-close, and then you do a pre-final close, and then you do a final close. And then you always use your anchor. Remember, your anchor's got to come in here. Even if you're using, you know, a word like cure. So now this is where you bring it all together, you know. So, you know, whatever, you know, Dylan's using, I don't know his 4 words or his acronym, but, you know, he's using the 4 words, and this is where he says, okay, and this all comes together, and it's cure, or the GPS girl brings it all together, and she says, you have now reached your destination. But in your pre-closes, this is now the time, you know, to say, again, we're not selling, but we're saying, you know what? I head into the back of the room right now. And this is, again, where a lot of speakers will start walking to the back of the room. And, you know, the thing of it is here is also all depends on how the stage is set up. Because if it's a stage where the steps are behind you, it's a little bit harder to do. Unless you're kind of a guy who jumps off or a gal who likes to jump off. But if you have heels on, it's a little bit harder. But this is where you say, hey, meet me in the back of the room. I'm heading back there. I'm going to be signing. I'm going to be giving away autographs. I'm going to be doing pictures. And as you're walking and talking, you could be doing your close. And this is where you're selling without selling. And so again, that's going to be another piece of the program. But right now, I just wanted to make sure that y'all understand the closings and the pre-closing. But again, all of the precursors leading up to creating that knockout of the park keynote. So you can have it at least crafted, prepared, bring it to the master's class, and we will certainly critique that for you. So let me just see if I missed anything on here. So again, I'm gonna just work on that final schedule. I will get that out to everyone probably late in the day by Thursday, no later than Friday, the 19th, and probably the 19th has to be Friday, or Thursday rather, the 19th, because Friday a lot of our activities get going here with a couple different things. So I think that is all I have for now. I don't want to get into too much and take away what we're going to be covering at the master's class, but that is just a snippet of it. I'll do another video for next Wednesday. We had a call scheduled, but there's a lot, people's schedules are filling up for the week. So I'm going to just do a really quick video and get that out to everyone, just again, so you have the information and so you know how to prepare for next week. For those who are doing a virtual, if you do change your mind and want to join us, we are still doing it. We're just, you know, gonna do it hybrid. And again, we just want to be cautious of everyone's safety and make sure that everyone is safe. We don't want anybody sick, and we want everybody healthy and happy and doing what they need to be doing. So that's all for now. I'm Connie and checking out. Hope y'all have a good night, and I'll be chatting with you real soon. Bye.